Christ. And let the body say amen,
Amen,
amen, and amen.
amen, amen.
Hey, greetings to all that's on the call. I am Brother George Mayers, and I happen to have the honor and privilege to serve as the bossless, and to some who do not know and understand that title, it is the president of the chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, South chapter. We want to welcome our guests, our esteemed visitors, and we want to make sure that we understand that on this call that we are represented by both men and women of our community who are out here doing extremely proud and wonderful things. So we want to welcome you. We want to thank all the brothers and the members of the Divine Nine who have taken the opportunity to join in on this call. We look forward to receiving some very dynamic information from you all and to truly understand your vision going forward. So looking at the smiles on the face of many of you that are here, you certainly did not chime in or call in to see me or hear me. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn this back over to our chair and let him do what he does. So thank you and welcome.
All right. Thank you, Brother Brother Bossless. And thank you for that prayer, Brother Chaplain. At this time, we would like to recognize any Omega Psi Phi district or national officers that might be in the chat. We also like to recognize any local district or national officers of the Divine Nine. Okay, we're moving forward. Candidates, here are the rules. Today, candidates, each of you have 10 minutes, 3 minutes for an intro, 7 minutes for questions and answers, and 1 minute for closing remarks. And to be fair, a lottery drawing was incorporated to identify who would present first to last. And our first candidate will be Mr. Jalen McGee Rodriguez will be first. So Jalen, you have the mic.
How exciting, thank you. So my name is Jalen McGee Rodriguez, and I'm a 26-year-old high school math teacher at Madison High School, and the son of 2 veterans. I moved to San Antonio almost 8 years ago to attend UTSA, where I got my BA in communication and where I'll graduate this summer with my master's in educational leadership and policy studies. In my time in San Antonio, I've served as a board member with Stonewall Democrats and as a member of Texas Organizing Project, San Antonio DSA, and Our Revolution Texas, as well as a volunteer with Fiesta Youth, Child Advocate San Antonio, and as a member of City Year at Davis Middle School, before eventually becoming a teacher at Sam Houston High School, a council aide in District 2, and now a teacher at James Madison High School. As a teacher and as a former council aide, I know the impact, the influence of our council members can have on my students and their families. I know what rent forgiveness and extended eviction moratorium, citywide broadband, quality jobs, I know what difference these things can make, and I'm disappointed that our city council hasn't delivered, but I remain optimistic that it's not too late to change. I'm proud to be endorsed by over 12 organizations and unions, as well as 2 state representatives. As a council aide, I learned how important it was to count to 6 on the dais, but also how necessary it is to work with state elected officials and county officials as well. District 2 is in need of many things that a lot of time egos get in the way of, that a divided city hall get in the way of. So all of District 2, the east side, the southeast, and the northeast all have some of the worst drainage issues I've ever seen. And that leads to flooding that can last days, which damages our roads, which places them at the end of a 6-year wait list, and in the meantime messes up our car tires. So we need to rethink the way our infrastructure management process is done because we're desperate for better road conditions. We also need to rethink the way the city manages crime and recidivism, because right now there's no criminologist employed or contracted by the city making decisions about crime prevention. So instead we rely on SAPD to prevent crime. Thank you. To prevent crime and to respond to crime. And they've said that they feel overwhelmed and overworked. So a key part of my platform is the development of a Department of Crime Prevention that can address the root causes of crime, like homelessness, the opportunity gap, and a lot of our infrastructure needs. And this will give crime as an issue the respect it deserves rather than slapping band-aids on it. And it's also said quite a bit that there may not be a Democrat or Republican way to fix a street light or a pothole, but there absolutely is a progressive way to implement an equitable budget. And that means placing priority on the streets. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jalen. So one of the things that I heard you talk about was infrastructure. So how would you attempt to resolve some of the infrastructure problems that we have in District 2?
For sure. So a huge bit is going to be in the bond program. I think the city needs to really invest in street lighting in District 2, because if you were to look at a map of, if you were to look at San Antonio from space, it looks real dark on the east side and real bright everywhere else. So it's about time that District 2 gets the lighting that it's been lacking for so long. I also think, like I was talking about earlier, the infrastructure management process isn't efficient. They hire contract workers that do shoddy jobs, and it just takes way too long to get on a list once you make it clear that you have a problem on your street. So whether that means looking for ways to make it more cost efficient, such as buying materials in bulk, the city needs to look at opportunities and things like that so that things can get done a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently.
Okay. Awesome. Is there any chats, questions?
None in the chat, sir. But also I want to remind you, brother chair, that we are live on YouTube. So it's not just us watching this. You got the entire, how many folks are on YouTube watching this? So just let the candidates know, and just to kind of be aware that you are being recorded live on YouTube.
Brother Chair,
Go ahead.
if I may, for Brother Jalen, just real quick. I wasn't quite clear on your resolution for the infrastructure management process, how you would actually move that forward faster than what it already is. Could you expound on that?
For sure. So right now, if you have a problem with your street, you call 311 services, and if it's not already on the infrastructure list, then it gets put at the end, and it can take 6 years to get that done. I would write a CCR or make a budget. Usually policy really gets done with the budget. I would make a budget priority ask that says, let's look into buying materials in bulk. Let's look into increasing the number of streets in District 2 that can be done every year. These are tangible things that can be done, and that's a start.
Just real quick, from the chat section, just to let everyone on the call know, can you please, if you could, put your questions in the question and answer session so we can keep track of them. We do have two questions, one from Mr. Jimmy McMillan, and his question is, how would you work with the Divine Nine to provide support to further their community outreach programs?
Please explain what the Divine Nine is for Brother Jalen, please.
Thank you. The Divine Nine is the historically Black fraternities and sorority that does a lot of community service within the San Antonio and throughout the world.
For sure. I'm very familiar with the work that the Divine Nine does, and they do so much for the community in the way of philanthropy. And one of the clear-cut ways that the outreach can be expanded and the city council office can have a way to help is through the city council project funds. So if there is a project that's being done by any organization or group of organizations, such as homeless outreach, school supply drives, the city council has a budget of $60,000 that they can allocate as they wish within these organizations. And I absolutely believe that that's one of the ways that the office can have an impact and that I would want to assist as well. If elected, I will have an advisory board made up of community members, community organizations, neighborhood leaders, and these would be figures that I would go to for policy recommendations, for budgeting recommendations, and for community engagement recommendations. And so anyone who would like to serve on that has a seat, and I believe that it's almost an obligation. Someone in the Divine Nine has to be represented on that board.
Okay. Last question I see in the chat. It comes from Mr. Russell Leday, and he said, "What will you do differently than the current council person?" For
sure. So I think one of the biggest problems that I've seen over the past year is that no other council office stopped taking phone calls throughout the pandemic. And it'll be said, the opposite will be said, but we've knocked on every door in our universe from the east, southeast, northeast, and people are saying they've been trying to get a hold of the council office for necessary resources. And I think that never should have happened. So day one, our office will have phones operating. We will have Fridays I will be personally at the field office on Fridays, either at the Northeast or at the East on Claude Black. So that accessibility and that inherent responsiveness is the key difference.
Okay.
Sure, I have one question I'd like to ask Brother Jalen, if I might. Brother Jalen, you're an educator, and I'm going to ask this to all the candidates. You're an educator, and I know education is not necessarily a District 2 platform, but as an educator, and you know exactly what happens in our inner city schools, do you have a plan, or how would you kind of get the young people involved and get them more aware of what's going on in the district?
For sure. So I think about this all the time, is that so many kids, our kids have so much talent. They have so much talent, they have so much energy and so much skill that is going untapped. And they want to utilize that. They want to have things to do. And as it stands, there's not a whole lot of recreational activity. So that's one big area of improvement that needs to be made. And that's going to come as a part of development in the district, getting movie theaters, bowling alleys, malls, things of that nature. As well, I would really like to see the development of a content creator studio in District 2, because our kids love social media and they're really good at it. So if we could give them this tool of the future where they can engage with the platform of social media through TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and blend that with academics, blend that with civic engagement, and also do something that they love, that's something I think that is worth investing in.
Thank you.
Just want to make a note to everyone in attendance. Due to time restrictions and each can't want to be respectful to each candidate, we want to let you know that even if we do not answer your question on air, that we will definitely make sure we get you an answer back. So don't want you to think that we are ignoring you.
All right.
Last question in the chat, Brother Chair, for Brother Jalen. A question is from an anonymous attendee. How will you solve housing development issues in District 2 if you refuse to work with developers? That's an anonymous question to you, Jalen.
So one thing is, this is a misconception. So I'm not accepting any developer money because for so long, developers have gotten to pick and choose council members across the city. And those people are at the whim of the developers. It's a real pay to play system where these developers are then put on boards and commissions for zoning, as well as HDRC, which is the Historic Design Review Commission. And because I'm not taking their money, that means I'm not going to be beholden to them. I'll be beholden to the community. And I also wanted to be clear that we don't have to take money from developers. But what I do have is a commitment to work with the community for the development they want, for the developments that they need and have long asked for so long, alongside developers who will do that responsibly, who are not solely focused on profits. And that's the key difference.
Thank you.
Awesome.
There's one more question. I don't know if we have time, Brother Timekeeper. I don't know if we have time. There's one more question.
Time on that candidate.
We do?
Yes.
Okay, question from Mr. Reginald Smith. Jalen, what programs are you proposing for recidivism?
For sure. So
Exceeds time on that candidate.
Say it one more time.
We've reached the time limit on that candidate.
Okay, sorry, Jalen. We ran out of time for you, sir.
So during this time, Jalen, if you can give us 1 minute closing remarks.
For sure. So overwhelmingly, as we've gone door to door, the response that we've gotten from our neighbors is that we need new leadership. We're building a coalition of neighborhood leaders, community organizations, and people who are ready for that new leadership, for fresh voices, and for working class representation. I really, really believe that things can change with progressive leadership, and that's why I'm running for City Council District 2, and I hope I can earn your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalen. We thank you for that response. The next candidate, I will yield to my co-moderator, which is Dory Lee Brown. will be next, Brother Diop.
Thank you, Brother Chair. Sister Brown, are you on?
Right here.
How are you doing this afternoon?
Okay.
Good, good. Thank you for coming on again. I'm going to start the question off with a simple question, Sister Brown. Why are you running for office?
Why am I running for office? I feel that there's a need for a positive, proactive change within the district. I feel that City District 2 has been treated like a stepchild within its own leadership and within the city. So I'm here just to step up and to help make a difference within the community. As one who has worked for State Rep Ruth Jones McClendon a couple of years, I understand how important it is that you make sure that you're representing and listen to the voice of the people within the district that have elected you into that office. And so I'm here first for the people in the district, as well as other changes that needs to be taken into consideration and making District 2 a better place along within the city itself.
Thank you, Brother Chair. Doesn't she get 3 minutes to opening remark?
Yes, she
No,
does.
she did not. She went straight to the question. But
Okay, I'm sorry. That's my fault. That's my fault. I'm sorry, Sister Brown. You have 3 minutes to what's up, whatever's on your mind. You go ahead. I am so sorry.
I feel like I'm the worst person to talk about myself, but I always say I'm a mother, I'm a minister, I'm a community servant. I'm just one of those people who just want to help others. And it has like come to me where people come to me looking for help. Whether I know the answer or not, I'm going to find the answer. I'm going to do whatever is possible to help that individual in the most positive way. I've been a homeowner in this district for over 25 something years. And so I have a vested interest in what happens in District 2. I was not raised in this district. I went to Holmes High School. So when I decided to invest in my home ownership in my community, I chose to come into this area. And even when I moved, I chose to stay within this district and within the East Central Independent School District as well. One of the things I truly believe is listening to the people, hearing what they have to say, following up. Whether you have the answer, can solve the problem at that time or not, they deserve the courtesy of a follow-up of what's going on, what's happening, and that you're actually listening to the people. And so, I mean, it's just so much to consider in doing this. I don't take the position lightly. I don't have like all the answers. I understand that whoever is part of your staff, they're an extension of you. So you have to make sure that who's in that office with you know that they're there to serve the people. They're not doing the people any favors. They're there to serve the community. They're there to bring attention to me as the city council person. It comes to me. I'm accountable for what happens. And this time where I've been walking around in the district, listening to people have just been thankful that I've showed up at their door, least places they think anybody would ever come, that I take time to talk to them.
1 minute remaining.
Hear what they have to say, what their issues are, and I said, what would help like your quality of life in your area, in your neighborhood? Some people just say, we need some stop signs and speed bumps so another car don't run into my house. That's not too much to ask. I mean, there's been times prior to this councilwoman where I've called the city council office and didn't get an answer, didn't get a follow-up. It's months later, I feel like I'm playing stalker lady, trying to get that representative to help me in what they were elected to do. And if they can't, just say that, say what is your timeline, what the turnaround is going to be. And so there's a lot of things to address, but you have to start off with step one. Can't come up like you're totally superwoman, but you got to make sure you have the people around you who can help us, all together to grow the community, to bring about that unity as well. Time limit?
Okay, we have one question. We have a question in the chat room, Sister Doris, and the question is from Mr. Stephen Bramer. Stephen Bramer asked, he says, as a native San Antonian, I have heard many promises made by candidates / council persons with no real noticeable changes. How do you plan to make your revitalization plan bring about this much needed change?
Well, one of the things is I'm not going to make any promises. I believe in strategically addressing everything and working together. And sometimes you have to go back to the seniors in the community who lived in a district. I was not raised in this district, but you listen to those seniors. Even when I decided to run this time, I went to a senior community person in this district that I respected. And I said, when you want words of wisdom, you go to the wise. And so I went to them and addressed them about me running. You know, at the time, the person said, I can't endorse you because it was really early. He said, but I could see myself voting for you. And they said, please run. So first off, you have to find out the history of what's going on in the district, what needs to be done, what we're looking for, and make proactive ways to make that happen. And then let the people know. You got to have some communication. You got to have some town halls. You got to have ways to address this and not come out like, you know, you have a cape and you're going to get it done when you need to know what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, what people have already tried and why it didn't work then, you know, and just be proactively progressive about addressing those issues. So I'm not coming with promises. I'm coming with a purpose and a mission to serve.
Thank you.
I have a
Another
question now,
question.
Brother Diop.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What ideas, Candidate Brown, what ideas do you have to make life better for constituents in District 2, primarily through the COVID-19 pandemic isolation?
And that's a good thing because you're addressing a generation that doesn't want too much change. You have to make sure you reach them where they're comfortable. We have our senior center, which we know we need to really upgrade, you know, find ways of making things easier for them and where their concerns are. Making sure that if they want the COVID vaccine, that they're getting it. Because I've addressed a lot of elderly people that's like, they don't trust it, you know, but we still have to make sure things are in alignment where they can feel comfortable getting out, getting about, getting around in that area. But we really have to encourage. I've had both my COVID vaccine shots, you know, so I'm not going to push something off on them that I wasn't willing to take myself. But if they have thoughts and ideas of, you know, what I can do to help them, then I would do that. If it comes with like technology, we've got to set up something that we can help them, you know, even through apps or however we can do that. If we can connect with the young person in their life that helps them, you know, so that they can be more functional. But we got to make sure that they don't feel like they're just left out in the cold.
Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Brown, the next question is in the chat from Mr. Timothy Major. He asks, do you support Proposition A? And if approved, how would you use those funds to improve housing within the community?
I'm concerned about Proposition A. I look at that as we do need some affordable housing, but I want to make sure that that's not an avenue of how to filter money to certain people, you know, and what they're going to give us in affordable housing. I believe there was a few years ago where we had some affordable housing done, and then people came back a couple years later, they were having foundation problems, they were having structural problems, they were having problems with molds, and the city didn't want to address that. And that's not what the people signed up for. And we have to make sure they're not just thrown into communities that are just kind of like generic. People work hard for their money, you know? So when they're investing it, we want to make sure we treat it like it's our money, our personal money. As a homeowner, I know what I expect and what I want, you know, and I want my housing to be affordable. So I'm a little I feel there could be something done with that when it comes to affordable housing, but just having like free will to do with it. Like I said, I'm a little concerned with that and how that will be executed. The plan is good, you know, but execution of it is I have a concern with.
Mr. Chair, do you have a question? I have one more I'd like to pose if you don't have one.
No, go ahead.
Candidate Brown, I'm going to ask an education question here. And again, I understand that District 2, the position doesn't necessarily address education per se, but you are in charge of children in the district. And so I would ask you, what is your plan to engage young people in the whole political process if you have one? Could you share that?
in the whole political process, I believe in exposure. I'm the mother of a 5th grader. You know, my child's been in private school, charter school, public school. My son has done football, basketball, soccer, and now golf. And one of the things I feel like is kids are not exposed to different things. You know, they get into a comfort zone. And I feel that we need to get our children out of the comfort zone. Now, I haven't told my son he's had to play anything, but I want him exposed to everything, then he can make the choice. So I feel that's something we should take to the schools, that we shouldn't just promote, you know, one thing. Even when it comes to education, don't be afraid to challenge the kids, you know, to try something new, to try something different, not so they don't feel inadequate.
1 minute remaining.
We want them to be, you know, exposed to more, and to encourage them and that they can achieve what they want to achieve. You know, it don't have to be stuff on the forefront. I'm in radio, so I'm behind the scene in radio. I've been on the MLK commission. I've been program chair. I'm not the person on the stage singing the songs and limelight, but they need to know that there's somebody in the background making those things happen. And it needs to start at an early age in exposure to different types of professions, you know, that are out there, not just the get rich quick kind of things.
Thank you, Candidate Brown. At this time, you do have 1 minute for any closing comments.
Closing comments. I know I'm going to probably think about 1,000 things after I get off of here. But one of the things I want people to know is that I'm real, I'm honest, and my integrity is true. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. I'm not out here to make a name for myself, but I'm out here to serve the people, you know, and I don't take this running lightly. I believe in unity. I believe that we can work together, even after this, even with the candidates, even after I win. No, the other candidates, we can work together because everybody has something to offer in this district. And I don't think we would be doing this if we didn't have a sincere passion to look out for District 2. And when we build up District 2, we're not just building up the district, we're building up the city. And that people will know that there's a vested interest in this part. District 2 is more than just the east side. And I've told those people I run into that I'm going to serve more than just the east side, because there's parts of this district that has a lot to offer, and that we should be able to benefit from all that it has in that. And so in running from day one, it's about the people. It's about our district and their voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Candidate Brown. Turn it back over to you, Brother Chair.
Thank you, Brother Diop. The next candidate that will be speaking will be Mr. Carl Booker. And Mr. Carl Booker, you have 3 minutes for intro, and then you have 7 minutes for Q&A, and then 1 minute for closing. So your time will start when you speak.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the group. My name is Carl Booker. I'm the owner of Avista Products, producer of the Black Book, Directory and Yearbook, and Black Video News. I'm a little handicapped currently because I was at another forum. But if you think about what happened today, for those that didn't make the other forum, you got to find a way to make it happen. There's no more excuse of, well, I was already booked or I couldn't make it. Creatively, you got to make it work. Because when the community calls, they're not going to know that something else was going on. You got to do both. And for what I do for a living requires me to be accountable to the people. But one of the things that I want to establish first is that I've always believed investing in people. Some of you brothers know the investment that I've made in the Qs in particular. The investment is there. The investment is in District 2. The investment is in the city. It's not a question of, it's check my record. You can check it, you can document it, you can see it. This is not something new for us. We've been dedicated for the last 10 years to our community. For the last 25 years, I've been dedicated to my clients. But what that also taught me was it wasn't enough to take care of my clients. It was important that I take care of my community. So in doing that, the responsibility is there. One of the things, if you think about the amount of people that have decided to run for this office is because we lack standards. We have no idea where we are or how we're doing if we haven't established those standards. With those standards, we need to establish milestones, meaning what's our pathway for success, whether that's better education, more small business opportunities, more arts and culture, more technology, more environmental, the technology gap, I mean, you name it. Now let's put together a timeline. How do we get there? Do we get there alone? Do we hand out turkeys and the whatnots during Christmas? That's great. But guess who does that? The Omegas. Let's join the Omegas and help them. We don't necessarily have to do it ourselves. There are people in the community that can do those type of things. It's called delegating. I know how to do it. I know how to work with people. I know how to work with consultants. I know how to work with experts. Let's get that done. Track record, experience, accountability. That's what I'm going to stand on.
Awesome. Thank you for those comments. I have one question for you. What are your thoughts on gentrification and revitalization as we focus on toward the taxes and pushing out the elderly out of the communities?
Well, depending on the elderly, they have their homestead that they can definitely claim. Especially if you're a disabled vet, you definitely have some advantages. Gentrification, cat's out the bag, can't put it back in. I do know of some instances, I don't know if it's widespread, but some of the developers have not received permits for building. So I had a complaint from one of the residents about one of their neighbors were building a home behind them, no permit. City had no idea they were building a home. So these are the kind of things that we need to think about as people start doing things in our community. We need to hold them accountable. We need to hold city staff accountable. If they're cutting corners, not in this district. District 2 is the darkest district in the county. This can no longer stand. We already know this. To know this and not do something about it is a problem. We're going to light up the community through our MLK project, which is a memorial light cannon project, which will illuminate District 2 and also shed light on our heritage, whether that's African Americans, German culture, Hispanic. We want to celebrate them all. But in order for us to do that, we have to shine a light on them, or lack of a better term, enlighten us. I have a track record that is tried and true.
Awesome. Well,
Candidate Booker, question from the community from Mr. Reginald Smith. His question is, what plans do you have to address homelessness in your district?
Homelessness, in some cases, is about affordable housing. In some cases, it's about mental health. I know of certain individuals that are homeless and they have a family that loves them. They don't, I'm not saying they don't love them back, but just they don't have the mental capacity to get the right kind of housing, to get the right kind of suitability, that you can assume the peer pressure is pretty intense. To know that you have a family that loves you and you don't want to go home. Some of it is a choice, and some of that, issue is mental health. It's not necessarily that, they don't want a job or, for whatever reason. In some cases, they cannot hold down a job. So affordable housing is one aspect.
So there's a lot of people who's been renting for a long, long time.
If you can please mute yourself.
So these are people who
you're not speaking, please mute yourself.
Who've been paying a long time and put them in that program and use some of this housing stock they got out here.
Okay, thank you. Unmute yourself, Brother Booker.
Okay, I'm not sure who that was, but that's basically it on homelessness and affordable housing. It's an issue, and there's more ways than one to attack it. I think creatively we got to find solutions. Understand there's no perfect solution. Part of my business is trial and error, or past experience of what not to do. So we can look at a homeless situation and think we got the solution, right? Turns out it's not the right solution. Look at Haven for Hope. Man, we thought that was going to solve everything. It was only a Band-Aid. It was an expensive Band-Aid, but it was a Band-Aid.
I have another question for you. If you're selected as District 2 City Council representative, what is your recommendation to keeping yourself accountable to your constituents?
Perfect question. And let me tell you, I got the answer. It's called a community dashboard. One of the things that you hear about the complaints about District 2 is no one's returning phone calls. Imagine if you get 5,000 calls in one day. What are the odds of you getting a call back? Not very high. I have a community dashboard that I'm working with developers now that allows for us to have accountability and FAQs. So let's say hypothetical, you lose power or you don't have running water on your on your street, your house, whatever. We can assume maybe 10 or 15 people are going to call about that same issue. With that community dashboard, we're going to say there is a power outage or a lack of water pressure on your street. We'll be able to tell you where those hot spots are. We're also going to tell you if there's a shooting or a crime that happened in your neighborhood within 24 to 48 hours. This will allow for accountability. If you are concerned about a new house that's being developed on your street, guess what? We're going to let you know there's a permit already been pulled for that street or for that house. FAQs will answer a lot of questions. I don't know if everyone needs a phone call back. With this community dashboard, you'll be able to know all the answers to your questions in some cases. And when you don't, definitely give us a call or 311.
Candidate Booker, my question is again regarding education. I know again, education is not part of the District 2's priority, but if you are elected, how will you start kind of integrating and getting young people involved in the community and in the political process?
1 minute remaining.
The best way is by example. If they want to get involved in the political campaign, I think it would be important that they're mentored through some type of process, whether it's through city council, county election, state rep, and even presidential. They have to see it. They have to understand it. That's the best way I know to teach anybody, including myself. I learned a lot during this process. This is my first time running, but it really kind of educated me on the process. One of the things I want to say to Jalen in particular, he's breaking records. It's going to be interesting how things turn out. I'm looking forward to the outcome. I do know what I do will not stop. I believe I do have some assets, and I think our community, not only District 2, but the city as a whole, can use what we have built and will continue to build. Education is important. We learned a whole lot during this pandemic on how important that digital technology and that digital divide is. We're going to try and fix that, hopefully with the partnership with CPS, Grande, and Spectrum.
Time.
You have 1 minute for a closing remark.
Again, I believe investing in people will help us build a better community. For those of you that do know me, know from day one, it's always been about the people, in particular my clients. On average, when they come to my office, they're in stress. They're a little distressed. So it's my responsibility, and the community knows, to come to me in certain cases to fix things. During the Black Lives Matter movement, I did not go downtown, but I got calls about help. We have FM transmitters that will allow for us to be socially distanced through an FM transmitter. We had a couple, well, one person in particular that got arrested. They did not have the ability to get out. I was able to make a couple phone calls and get them out of a situation that they were not prepared to be in. I get these calls on a regular basis. I'm not even in office. I want to continue my leadership and take it to the next level. I encourage you to vote for Carl Booker for District 2.
Thank you for those remarks and comments. Our next candidate that will be up will be Michael Good. If he's on, I don't see him. If he's not here, the next person will be Farrell Clark.
All right, good afternoon.
Now I'll pass that over to Brother Diop. Yield to him.
Good afternoon, candidate Clark. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for joining us. And as you know the format, you have 3 minutes to open up and say whatever's on your mind, sir.
All right, first off, thank you all. I want to thank you for having me on your show here and for just giving all of us candidates a chance to express our hearts, our platforms, and what we plan to do for the district. I won't spend my time telling you again about what District 2's problems are because I believe we all know what the problems are. It's something that hasn't changed in years. What I'd like to talk about is leadership and why this race is important to me, why I decided to throw my hat in the ring to run for District 2, and why I believe that I should earn your vote. I believe that everybody who's running has good heart, they have good mind, they have a passion for the community. But I also think that what sets me apart in this category is the fact of proven track record and a proven results in getting things done. And I don't mean just the toy drives and just the food giveaways, which I've been a part of and done for years. I've mentored youth for years. But when we're talking about the district, we're talking about things that need to change on the political platform. We're talking about laws that have to be changed, ordinances that have to be changed, CCRs that have to be put into place to bring forth the accountability that we as a community want to see. I believe I am the only candidate on this platform that has any track record of success in this area. I have worked with every single representative from city to county to state representatives. I've advocated here in San Antonio at a city council, at commissioner's court. I advocated for you in Austin, Texas, in front of our Capitol. I've even advocated in Washington to bring forth the changes that our community desperately deserves. And I've been very successful in getting many things accomplished throughout my time running. And I believe that when we're talking about who needs to be in office, who's gonna be the person who represents our district, it can't just be a person with the best intentions. It can't be the person with the best plans. It has to be a person who can hit the ground and running from day one, especially because our district is lacking and behind other districts. So we don't need to crawl, we need to be running towards the goal line. And I believe that I'm the candidate that can do that. I'm also willing to work alongside all these candidates to help not only my visions for D2, but also their visions for D2 as well, because I believe it's going to take all of us as a village to create a better community for us all. So those are the reasons why I believe that I'm the pick for District 2. And I welcome any feedback that you guys have. But once again, thank you for having me.
Thank you, candidate Clark. We have a question that's actually been in the chat for a minute here. I want to pose it to you. It's from an anonymous attendee. And the question is, do you believe in police reform? And how would you propose to improve the relationship between the police and the citizens of District 2?
I absolutely believe in police reform. I think that I've been one of the strongest voices for police reform that's on the call. And I believe that this should happen at every level of government. Reform, it just means to change a system to make improvements. And I believe that any level of government, reform is what you should always be looking for. How can we find flaws that are in our system and improve them and make them better for the community we serve? So I believe in reform on many different levels. And one thing that I would like to see improved, is that what the follow-up?
Yes, the follow-up was, how would you propose to improve the relationship between the police department and the citizens of District 2?
I think that begins with starting to work with accountability and transparency. Once we start getting some of these issues of accountability, transparency cleared up, which we're already working with. I worked with Police Chief McManus, working with Sheriff Salazar on different issues. I also think that another thing is also implementing police back into our communities in a more positive role. We don't just need to see police officers when they're in the community to arrest someone. We'd like to see them more involved in our youth programs and other things like that, so that the community is familiar with the police officers and the officers are familiar with that community. We think this would be a better service to everybody.
Thank you, Candidate Clark. Brother Chair.
Yeah, we have a question that they asked last time. What plans do you have to address the homeless in your district? That's come from Reginald Smith.
Okay, so one of the things that I plan to do that may be different than what the city plans to do is I would like to look at more counseling and how do we get rehabilitative services for many of these homeless or houseless individuals. A lot of the time when we're dealing with homeless, you have to look at what are root causes. Otherwise, you're not really fixing it. You're just putting a Band-Aid on a problem. And that's what we've seen throughout our history is Band-Aids being put on this homeless situation as we kick the can down the road. I believe that we definitely need to address housing issues for them, but we also have to address what are we going to do about providing mental health counseling, family counsel, and drug abuse counseling, which I think can be done very easily with working through our faith-based community, our nonprofit communities, and even some of our colleges here in the district that have graduates or undergraduates in these various fields. I believe if you fix the root cause of the homelessness, then you start to see a real reduction in homelessness. But as long as we're not addressing those root causes, getting to the heart of family counseling, of drug counseling, mental health counseling, then we're not going to really do anything but kick the can down the road.
Thank you, Candidate Clark. The next question centers around gentrification and revitalization of District 2. What are your thoughts on the gentrification and revitalization of District 2, in particular, its effect on the elderly?
Right. Gentrification is a big issue for me. It's actually one of the things in my platform. And I think that there's two things that we know to be true. One is gentrification is horrible in ways and wreaks havoc on our senior citizens and our people, our senior citizens, folks that may have disabilities, and our folks with limited income. We also know that development in the city is also necessary. As we've seen, we're behind the curve in a lot of ways. What I believe is that there's a way to handle both of them responsibly. I believe you definitely need economic development, but you also have to do it in such a way that you're balancing things out and that you're not displacing our most vulnerable citizens, i.e. our senior citizens and our disabled people. I believe the county has a good program and we may look to something like that. We need to establish tax shields for our residents in District 2 and make sure that as the development is taking place and as we're investing in that development, we're also investing in the people on the ground to make sure that they're not displaced as a cause of that development.
Thank you, Candidate Clark. Brother Chair.
Brother Diop.
Yes, sir.
A real quick question. I know I'm a little bit out of line, but I wanted to go back on a question that was asked this candidate earlier about police reform.
Yes, sir.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
My question to you is, you talked about, Candidate Clark, about police reform. So, some years back, the police department as well as the sheriff department had created a program that was considered as community policing. It's an old tool that was used even in earlier years. As the program was initiated, it had strong luster. Somewhere along the line, that luster didn't shine anymore. My question to you is, how would you enhance this as a useful tool to create a better relationship with the community and police?
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining.
What I think is important when we deal with things like community policing is that we don't try to look at reinventing the wheel. Instead, the approach that I would take is to looking towards other large cities that have had success in this area and trying to gather from those various cities, what have you implemented? What results did you see? How did that impact the community on every level? And then coming back to the table with the list of those proven results and then implementing those into our community. I think that would be the most effective way, is not trying to imagine, something out of the blue, but more take bits and pieces from different areas that we believe have been effective, and how can we implement those in our district. That would be the way that I would attack that issue.
Thank you, Candidate Clark. You now have 1 minute for any closing comments.
My only closing comments I would say is, District 2 is very important. It's something that's deep in my heart. I've lived my life. And one thing that I know that I've seen from childhood all the way up is that we continue to lack as a district because we continue to do business as usual. We can't keep electing the same people, but expecting different results. We have to go after people that don't just talk good, don't just look good, don't say what we want to hear, but that have a proven track record of getting things done. And I believe, you look at my track record, I humbly say that it will speak for itself, that I am a man of the community, that my heart is in the right place, and that I will work tireless to bring forth the change that the district needs. I also promise you, because I believe that the District 2 representative is a full-time job. It's not something that we can come in on the weekends. It's not something we can devote a Wednesday. It's something that if you're the representative, you are accountable to the people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what I promise to bring back into the district. My number will always be available, and my office will always be open to serve you.
Thank you, Candidate Clark. Brother Sherry, yield back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Diop. The next candidate at this time would be candidate Norris Dorton. You will have 3 minutes for introduction, then 7 minutes for Q&A, and then 1 minute for close.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate this opportunity, guys. I want to say this is a very unique but effective and efficient format that you have going on. So thank you. I'm not going to use all three of my minutes. And if they can't be used for questions, then I'll just lose them. But my name is Norris Tyrone Darden. I'm a native son and proud native son of District 2, born and raised here, product of San Antonio Independent School District, Gates Elementary, King Middle School, and Sam Houston High School. Received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice in 2001 and a master's degree in special education, or education with a major in special education, in 2003 from Texas State University. And what I'm also proud of is I came back home, and for the last 18 years as a professional, I've been an educator right here in the district. Davis Middle School, Sam Houston High School, and now currently at George Gervin Academy as an administrator on the district level. For me, it's all about three things. It's about experience, education, and energy. If I wasn't running, and I've ran before, and doing that between those times where I've ran, I've supported other candidates. And what I look for in a candidate is those three things: experience, education, and energy. For me, being in the district my entire life, working in the district my entire life, and giving back to the district civically, professionally, and just on the service learning level, I believe that is a key component in understanding what's going on. Education-wise, I'm not speaking on your degrees or your diplomas or anything like that, but actually knowing what's going on in the community, actually knowing how to fact find, actually knowing who to go to, and being able to go to every corner of the district and have those conversations. So if you don't have that educated, if you're not educated, it's going to be very difficult to get things done in the community. And just that energy. One thing I've learned, and this is not about one person, this is about the district. I've learned that because we're so large, it's very hard to connect with all of the people most of the time. And so you have to have that energy, you have to be innovative, you have to think outside the box, and you have to know what works and doesn't work in order to be productive. So for me, those are the things that I'll be looking for. And for me, that's why I'm running. So again, I'm not going to use all my time, but I appreciate this process, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you for those comments there, Brother Dart. I want to go back to a previous question, and it's from an anonymous attendee. And we're going to go back to, do you believe in the police reform, and how would you propose to improve the relationship between the police and the citizens of District 2?
So I'm gonna answer the second part first. Transparency is the only way you're going to gain trust. A lot of things are done behind closed doors. And I'm not speaking again on council members or anything like that. I'm speaking on the entire law enforcement apparatus. There are a lot of things that are not privy to the public. And so for me, being able to build those relationships, it starts with trust and it starts with transparency. But going back to the first part of the question, for me, it's not just law enforcement, police reform, it's the entire law enforcement apparatus. You think about it, with our pretrial processes, with our bail processes, even when it comes to being able to get a non-disclosure for a situation where you're arrested and you weren't convicted. You have to go through so many processes, pay so much money, and you're not even convicted. And so I think we need reform of the entire law enforcement apparatus, and we can start wherever we need to start.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Candidate Darden, I know you have a rich educational background and you are a native son of District 2. My question centers around education as well. What, in your office, if you are elected to District 2, how would you engage the young people that are coming out of Sam Houston High School, being the only high school in District 2? How would you engage these young people coming out of high school to get involved in the political aspect and just being involved in their community?
Well, and so of course I'm a Cherokee and I taught at Sam and coached at Sam, so I'm a Hurricane. So my love is there. But I want to be real frank. The District 2 is covering a lot. Roosevelt is in District 2, East Central is in District 2, and although the physical space of Wagner is not in District 2, Sunrise and all those communities, they feed into Wagner. So they're all in District 2. And so for me as a council person, I'm responsible for all those youth. But it's a great question. It all comes down to leveraging the resources that we already have. One thing I haven't seen, I've said that before, but something I haven't seen, not one thing, is the different elected officials working together, whether it's the school board for SEISD, JISD, NEISD, ECISD, the ACCD school board member, working with the council person, working with the commissioner, working with the state reps, and even our senators in our communities. We need to start leveraging those offices and leveraging those resources to make sure that our students' lives are whole, our youth lives are whole. What does that look like? A comprehensive out of school time program that reflects and builds upon the in-school time program. So for me, it's not about what we don't have, it's about how we build on it. And that looks at civic engagement, service learning, workforce development, and post-secondary readiness with both college and careers, as well as the military and also our vocational and trades.
Thank you. We're gonna go back to another question that was from previous in the chat. What plans do you have to address the homelessness in District 2?
So again, I feel like at times the city micromanages things they should be macro managing. So when you look at our homeless population in just in District 2, you go over in that East Terrell Hills, General Kruger, Wilshire area, their homeless population is different than that over in Dignity Hills and Denver Heights. And then if you go up in the core up where the Sticks and in that area where Wheatley Heights, their homeless situation is different. So the first thing we got to do is we got to qualify the different levels of being homeless. Some people are homeless because what was stated earlier, mental health issues. Some people are homeless because they're one check away. Some people are homeless because they're working a full-time job, but child support is taking everything out of their check and they can't afford a home. So they're living on the streets, they're living out their cars. So first thing we have to qualify what homelessness is. And then number two, we have to create a comprehensive program that not only is the city involved, but we're coalition building with our nonprofits, our faith-based community, and getting everybody involved that has the expertise working with these populations to make real things happen and change for these people in their lives. Beyond that though, we also need to look at transitional living that goes all the way up to home ownership if people want that. Everybody doesn't want the same thing, but if people want that, we need to look at that as well.
Candidate Darden, we have a question from the raised hand. Mr. Gordon Benjamin, are you there? You can ask your question now, sir. And if he can't get in, Brother Chair, I'll yield back to you.
Okay, next question. What are your ideas for an infrastructure in District 2?
So District 2 is literally 3 and 4 decades behind when it comes to our infrastructure through decades of neglect. And again, we can't name that, we can't blame that on one council person. We can't blame that on anybody outside of ourselves. So the first thing that I would say do is we need to not allow money to leave our district. On the last bond or the bond before that, we let over $20 million leave our district that could have stayed here for infrastructure projects. We have a bond coming to a close. There's going to be some money, whether it's 1 million or 120 million. We need to ensure that we're advocating for every penny because we have projects, streets, drainage, lighting, parks that need to be addressed. And so that's the number one thing. Don't allow any money to go outside the district that we can use right now. The second thing is this: when the bond comes up, we need to include every neighborhood, every resident that wants to be a part of that. And although we can't address every issue, it needs to all be brought to the table. So we at least know if we have $200 million worth of infrastructure projects, we know, okay, we're not going to get 200 million. We're going to fight for 50 and we got to find another 150 moving forward. So it's all about avocation. It's all about knowing what we need and figuring out how we're going to get it.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute remaining.
Okay.
I found the question from Brother Gordon.
Go ahead.
Mr. Gordon Benjamin, his question is, what engagement with neighborhood associations will you initiate?
Well, currently they already have some engagement. They have their President's Roundtable, and then there's also some other groups working. I think the number one thing we have to do, though, we have to start getting people together. We have to figure out how we can work out things in an orderly and humane fashion. There's a lot of infighting going on that doesn't have to be going on. And so it's going to take leadership to bring people together. But once we bring them together, there's a model right next door in District 10. When District 10 has to make decisions for their communities, they come together and they speak as a voice. Now, it's not 100%, but I'll take 85% over 2% or 10% any day. So number one, we have to start resolving some of these issues within these communities. Well, that was number two. Number one, we have to start working with the people that are already there. Number two, resolving some of these issues. And number three, look at the models that are already there, see how they're working, and then build on them for our communities.
Hi.
Candidate Darden, you have 1 minute for closing comments.
If there's any more questions, I'd rather just answer a question and then close.
If you can, we do have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. We'll use that 1 minute.
Okay, the question is from an anonymous attendee.
Mm-hmm.
How would you propose future economic development in District 2? And what type of projects would you propose?
So it all goes back down to understanding what economic development is. So we already have current economic generators in our community. We have SAGE, we have the Alamo City Black Chamber of Commerce, we have the FCC, we have all these different organizations. We need to figure out, number one, how to build capacity with them, but beyond that, how to connect them to the people. There's so many contractors in our communities. There's so many small businesses that do all these different work, but they're not connected to contracts. They're not connected to opportunities. So we have to figure out how to get our people involved, how to build capacity. And it all comes from coalition building and understanding what the talent is in our district.
Thank you, candidate. Brother Chair, I yield back to you.
Thank you, Brother Darden.
No problem.
Darden. The next candidate that will be speaking will be incumbent Jader Andrews Sullivan. And Ms. Jader, you have 3 minutes for intro and then 7 minutes for question and answers and 1 minute for close.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much to all of you brothers here of the Divine Nine and even the sisters who are on the line as well. I am City Councilwoman Jader Andrews Sullivan. And for 2 years, we have seen what it means to be the voice of the district and to amplify the voices that are speaking for the things that we need here in the District 2 area. We have gone from seeing things that were not being done in the 2017-2022 bond to completion. We have seen things like economic development actually happen in our community. We have seen over 4,000 families during this pandemic actually able to stay within their homes by District 2 receiving the most in the Emergency Housing Assistance Program. We have seen our district grow. The momentum that we have now in the city of San Antonio is thriving and it's going. No longer will we be looked at as the stepchild. We have changed the rhetoric of what District 2 will do. We will step up, we will speak up because we are continuing to educate, empower, and uplift our district. And through education, that is key. When you talk about making sure that our interactions with SAPD are heard and making sure that they understand that community engagement is the only way to gain the trust of this community, not over policing and not just running up another light bill that we have within the city of San Antonio, which what I mean by a light bill is continuing to take more and more money without giving resources back to the community is what we are doing. We are looking to make strides as we continue to build District 2. So I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity, and to each and every last of the candidates that are here. Thank you. Thank you for your hearts. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for speaking up. And we are looking forward to representing District 2 because we know that consistency matters. Consistency is key to change, and that's what we are here to do. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, candidate incumbent Jada. We have a question from Stephen Bramer. As a native San Antonian, I have heard many promises made by candidates and council persons with no real noticeable changes. How do you plan to make your revitalization plan bring about this much needed change?
Well, the good thing is that if everybody understands, promises are always broken. So we do not make promises. That is the first step in the process. But what you continue to do is get out into the community. Through the Live Up, Clean Up, Crime Down initiative, we have picked up tons of trash. We have brought in areas of our community that were just looking as eyesores. When you talk about how we have stepped up to do a light study within our district with over 9 different residents and neighborhoods that are now starting to see lights come to fruition. When you talk about making sure that you are amplifying the voice of the community by saying we need our roads fixed. When you look at Denver Heights and you look at an intersection that had not been fixed for over 30 years, we were able to do it within 9 months. It's called collaborative communication, working together with your community to address the needs, concerns, and the cares that each and every last one of them bring to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilwoman. This question has to do with arts and culture. And the question is, moving forward, how would you develop a shared vision for arts and culture in District 2? How would you develop a shared vision for arts and culture in District 2?
So the way that we do that is that we start bringing in our District 2 artists. We started with that process with the Arts and Culture Department in this past year. Unfortunately, the pandemic really did a setback on the things that we were looking to achieve, but we were still able to bring in many District 2 artists that will now be painting murals on the walls to say, how can we do it and stay safe together to do it for SA campaign? When you look at bringing in artists into the music scene with our first African-American poet laureate and Ms. Vocab Sanderson. And then if you look at how we are really speaking to actually looking at endowments and grants, even looking at SACAM, even though we could not get them to be here in District 2, what we continue to do was say that within the city of San Antonio's budget, we didn't have an African-American arts or culture representation at all. So now we're starting to see that with SACAM coming into the fold, but then also bringing in our youth, and not only during MLK, but bringing in our youth now through the Let's Read Together District 2 initiative and the poetry initiative that we have going here in District 2 right now, that is submitting poetry on every area of life from ages 8 to 18, and then from 18 and above. So that's how we bring in our arts and culture department. Thank you.
Councilwoman, we have another question. Would you support or revamp the city-initiated tax increment reinvestment zone system, or seek other legislation to redevelop your district, and how?
Definitely. That is one of the conversations we just had this morning on the dais about small businesses and how we're losing more than almost 32% of our small businesses here in the San Antonio area. But because we have the TERS, we can revamp the TERS to really speak to uplifting our community. We're looking at bringing over $450,000 out of the TERS right now into SAGE to help do a corridor study to find out exactly where does economic development fit what type of economic development is most important to District 2. But then that other 400,000 will go to over 40 businesses to help elevate and uplift them through the grant program that Sage has. Now, Sage has the $10,000 grant program for storefronts, but it's only for within the Promise Zone. By using the TERS funding that we'll be actually voting on real soon here, we'll be able to reach those 40 additional businesses outside the Promise Zone. But then we actually have the African American Chamber, which has been revitalized. And we want to start using that TERS funding to truly speak to how we leverage our community. We know that Lift Fund is on the west side of town, and they receive money from the county, from the state, from the federal government, from the city. And now we have Sage that is going to step up and be able to do the same thing right here in the District 2 area. Thank you.
We have another question in the chat from anonymous attendee. What was your greatest accomplishment for District 2 as the current District 2 Councilwoman?
The greatest accomplishment was seeing Lamar Street actually get completed. After 5 years of the community telling us they had not even been able to drive down that street to get home in 5 years, we were able to find out that the contractor wasn't even doing the work, and we were able to recoup some of that money that we had already paid out to see that street get fixed. And now to see that many families that were saying we couldn't get home for 5 years are actually getting home is what makes the difference. It's the quality of life. It's about making sure that those families know that you're here to advocate for them. And that's one of our greatest accomplishments.
We have
Councilwoman, this question is from the chat. The question is, what has the Councilwoman done in the district in the midst of the pandemic?
So in the midst of the pandemic, we have been busy. We've been busy with economic development. We were able to bring in Amazon. That's bringing in over 800 jobs. We're able to bring in Matthews International. That is a company that is specifically working on the batteries for Tesla. Now, we've been looking at areas of how to bring in our youth. And so during Black History, we were able to partner with MLK Academy, where I went to school, and bring in those kids to really represent what does Black history look like here in the city of San Antonio. Not looking outside, but looking right here in the district area, and able to uplift their voices by bringing them onto the daytime television and just letting them have their way. By doing the 2020 virtual March, 2021 virtual March, which was something that we were blessed to be able to facilitate, to get done. It was on a national level. It is still being recognized. And those are some of the things we've been able to do during the pandemic. We've been able to get out and actually hand out PPE to a lot of our small businesses. We've been able to actually facilitate getting Sage more involved into the conversation, getting our faith-based ministers involved into the conversation. It has been a time of such uncertainty, but the work never stopped. And so that's what we'll continue to do.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. You have 1 minute for close.
I just want to say thank you to the residents of District 2. Even though we were a first time ever candidate, politician, however you want to name it, we never turned political. We continue to do the work of the district. And when I continue to say we, because I cannot do this alone. I cannot do this without the voices of the District 2 residents, and we cannot continue to do this without the voices of each and every last one of you who are here. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to continuing to serve District 2. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for your response. The next candidate will be Chris Dawkins, and we'll yield back to Brother Diop.
Good afternoon, Candidate Dawkins. Hope everything is going okay for you this afternoon.
Been kind of hectic, man.
Well, welcome, sir. You have 3 minutes for your opening remarks.
No real opening remarks. I think most of the people probably know me. I've been with District 2 ever since I've been in San Antonio, which has been about 20 years. I've been involved in community service for all of that time. The things that I really want to do is I really want to see the integrity brought back to District 2. In District 2, we've had some challenges in the past. At the council level, we've tried to have the young candidates who come in. I'm not the best speaker or anything like that, but I think those young people who have been in office have made a lot of promises to us. And the only thing they've really shown is that their inexperience, immaturity, which has really led to ineffective leadership and sometimes downright embarrassment. So I think what we want to do really is to bring some integrity back. We want to do some things. The mantra that I preach is that we're going to do for ourselves what others ask the city to do for them. We're going to develop some processes that we can do. Like Jada said, it's not all by myself. It's got to be communities coming together that want to do some things. There hopefully will be questions that you will ask that would allow me to expand more about some of the things that I would like to see done. But it all begins from me at the community level. And before that, from the leadership of bringing integrity back to the district.
Thank you, candidate Dawkins. The first question we have is, you're elected. If you're elected, what does your first 90 days in office look like? How do you hit the ground running in 90 days?
Hit the ground running. Probably most people would not look at it as hitting the ground running. But there's a lot of things that I think that need to be put into place that we've got to do. Make sure we've got the right people, make sure that we're doing the right things, make sure that the telephone is answered properly, to make sure that people get their calls called back and their issue taken care of. We want to be able to take care of the data that comes in off of that. We want to know who the person is that called, what neighborhood are they calling from? Do they have a neighborhood organization? And we want to give them some type of number or something so that they can track their call and we can track their call as well. So every 30 days, or at any given time, I'm going to be able to look at the data and to be able to see who called, what they're calling about, and to be able to deal with that. I think that what's important about that is because things can change. There might be some things that come up and people begin to call about that, and we can begin to see trends that happen in several districts that will allow us to change and to make those things happen. So getting the right type of infrastructure in place, I think, is going to be the first and best thing that we can do to bring that integrity back.
Thank you, candidate Dawkins. Brother Chair, I yield to you.
There's a question that we've been asking all candidates from Stephen Bramer, and it says, as a native San Antonian, I have heard many promises made by candidates and councilpersons with no real noticeable changes. How do you plan to make the revitalization plan bring about this much needed change?
Well, the first thing I say is like I said before, first of all, the young people, I think the litmus test should be, if you have not worked for a neighborhood organization, that should be the first litmus test that all of us use before we choose a candidate. These candidates that come in that really haven't done anything, they haven't worked with a neighborhood organization, and they're just making us a lot of promises. We're buying a pig in a poke. And that's why we've had the issues that we've had in the past. I'm not telling you about things that I can do. I'm telling you about things that I've done with being president of Lakeside Neighborhood Association, being able to work with the city and do different things like that. When I tell you that we're going to do for ourselves what others ask the city to do for them, that's exactly what I mean, is that we're going to form our own CDC. We're going to talk to developers. We're going to talk to landowners. We're going to do a lot of different things. And the things that I tell you that we can do, if you ask anybody that knows me, they will tell you, if I tell you we're going to do it, we're definitely going to do it. But if there's something that comes up and I can't do it, I will be very honest with you and say that we couldn't do it and why we couldn't do it.
Thank you, candidate Dawkins. This question is about mobility in the district. And the question is, what solutions would you advocate to expand mobility in your district beyond the use of automobiles? Second part, and what funding options would you tap to generate the revenue required to complete these projects? Two-part question.
I think that's an excellent question. The first thing that I would do is look at, I think that we have a organization that takes care of not only San Antonio, but all of Bexar County. And I think in looking at that, we need to see what we need to do. We've got a very large city at the 7th largest city in the area, and District 2 by itself is as large as the city of Miami, Florida. So we've got a lot of area to cover just for our own area. I don't have a canned answer for this, but I do believe that we talk to VIA, we talk to the planning organizations, and we talk to the federal government. We talk to the people who can make things different for us. We've got to figure out a way to get people out of their cars and to figure out how we can get them to do alternative travel. I know that the city planning department is doing some things with bicycles. I talked to the Spurs the other day, and I said, you know, I really wish that we had made their building close to the sidewalk so that people could walk by there and we could have different businesses that they could go in and be able to see. So we've done some things in the building that we've done that has not made it not lucrative, but has not made it conducive for pedestrian type of traffic. We have not made it conducive for people to get outside their cars. We don't have mass transit. We've got to look at all of that. I don't have a pat answer to be able to say, but I do believe that the question is valid and something that we need to look forward to be able to find an answer for.
Thank you, candidate Dawkins. Brother Chair.
We have a previous question from Reginald Smith, and we've been asking this to the candidates. What plans do you have to address the homelessness in District 2?
It's funny you should bring that up. We just, the last meeting that I was at, we had a real extensive talk about that. I used to take people to Haven for Hope to look at Haven for Hope because I thought it was so great. But I had another candidate who's running for office who lives in District 1, and he was telling me how bad Haven for Hope is. Just today, I sent a note to Dr. Brennan, I think is her name, over at Trinity, to ask what it is that we can do. I think we really need to find some answers. One of the things that was just brought to me today is to look at Sioux Falls, Iowa, and see some of the things that they're doing, and they have some issues. Again, I don't have a pat answer. I'm not an expert with homelessness. I do believe that there are some people. I'm sorry?
1 minute
remaining.
remaining.
1 minute remaining.
Oh, okay. I do believe that there's some things that we can actually do and look at other cities that are doing some things and figure out how we can do this. But we have great candidates that are in this race. And my hope is to be able to have some of them to chair some Saturday meetings that we might work on homelessness and make sure that we know that homelessness is different than panhandling.
Thank you, candidate Dawkins. You have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Wow, this has went so fast. It was really great. I really liked everything that was going on and the questions that were asked of me. I really wish we had more time. I think there's a lot of questions that can be answered. The thing that I'll tell you, I just want to reiterate what I've said before. Don't trust the young people. We've trusted them before. We've bought a pig in a poke. Ask people that know me and find out the things that I've done for them. We are doing a lot of good things in Lakeside. I want to continue to do good things for the entire district, but I don't want to just tell you a lot of flowery words of what we can and cannot do. I want to tell you that we want to bring things. One of the things that I've talked about, even with the Spurs, is being able to, we know that we can't keep them if we don't do some things in that area to be able to keep them. So I want to do some things over there to be able to make sure that maybe we have an entertainment district and to do some things that are going to keep the Spurs. I think that also the person who's going to be the District 2 representative, District 2 is not the only thing you look at. You also have to look at how are you going to help the city to become the city that we want it to become. So remember me, I'm number 8 on the ballot, and Chris Dawkins, and I hope you vote for me.
Thank you, candidate Dawkins. Brother Chair, I yield back to you.
Thank you. The next candidate that's up is Andrew Facino. If he's on, I didn't see him. If he's not, we're gonna move to the next candidate, Nika Cleaver. You have 3 minutes for intro and 7 minutes for Q&A, and then 1 minute to close.
All right. Well, thank you guys so very much. I just want to tell you that I am really, really excited to be running for District 2 Council. And why am I so excited? Because it's all about being a servant to the people and to the community, which I've been my entire life. I'm excited to hear my platform coming from so many different candidates because it shows me that I am a true leader in this community, not just from the things that I've done before, but the things that I talk about and the things that we're going to do and that we're currently doing right now. I have literally came to District 2 to serve the people through food drives, clothing, shelter, getting jobs, getting women back into school, anything the people needed. What was my interest? What was my concern? Are the people's concern. So I don't have any specific thing that I work on. I work on whatever the people need. And in the last 10 years, I've worked with everyone in the city manager, mayor, the council, the sheriff, the DA, the police department, SAPOA, our judges, our initiatives, our community programs, our individuals out here spending their own time and their own money trying to make things happen, our Ella Austin, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, you name it, I have worked with them. And we have brought results to District 2 to make it better for people. I'm running for council because I don't want to just help 5 people at a time. I want to build programs that help 500 people, that help 5,000 people, that stay here for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, so our kids can benefit from them. We can put all the programs in our district that we can think of. We've heard so many different great ideas, but how are we going to implement them in a proper amount of time and get the entire district to buy into it and come along with us? 5,000 to 6,000 people vote in District 2. However, 171,000 people live in District 2. And it's my job as a council person to make sure that I'm there for each and every one of them.
Well, thank you for your remarks. First question. If you are selected as District 2 City Council representative, what is your recommendation to keeping yourself accountable to your constituents?
Well, I think accountability comes through your work, right? Accountability doesn't come when we vote again. If you haven't done what you said you were going to do, then it's time to switch the needle. So one, we have to keep community partners around us and actually talk about what is being done. So we have to communicate with our district. We have to use media. We have to use television, social media, door knocking. And of course, we have a website ready to launch, ilovemyd2.com, that will keep you informed with everything that is happening and that has happened in District 2. So accountability is a huge thing, and I plan on keeping myself accountable. Anything that is said will be worked on to its fullest, and it needs to be communicated where we're at, how much longer it's going to take, and if we can't get it done, why we can't get it done, and what things we're going to look into to make sure that we can in the future. But we have to keep ourselves accountable and put people around us that will make sure that we stay accountable. It's about being a good steward to the people.
Thank you.
Candidate Cleaver, this is from an anonymous attendee asking again about police reform. How would you propose to improve the relationship of the police and the citizens of District 2?
So police reform is absolutely important. So my biggest thing is targeting what is wrong, right? So we have to go and target the different areas that cause maybe racial profiling, that cause the injustice that our community faces and that people face. But we cannot we're District 2, so we need police. We need safety, period. It's still one of the top 3 concerns of constituents all in this district, no matter what race, color, or age you are. So we have to have good relationships with the police. I already work with Sheriff Salazar. Sheriff Salazar has programs that we can implement that help with community policing. With our Precinct 4 constable, she just implemented the SCORE program. This is going to help train community individuals to help with events and to back up our constables in different situations. So we're going to literally work with programs that already exist, as well as look into different things that we can bring down to help with community relations. We're going to have events. We have I can't think of the name, but a gentleman that works at the constable office with Catherine Brown that actually holds a program that works with kids and police, and they actually do events like go bowling and go skating. This is a very successful program that's being discussed at the state level to make it to make it a thing that everybody has to do. So we have stuff out there. We just need to implement it better. We're going to have town hall meetings, and we're going to have what I don't like to call it a meet and greet because people think of that, oh, that's so fun. But guess what? We need to kind of sometimes just sit and have a good conversation, because that is what brings everybody on the same level. And that's when we start communicating with each other. Communication builds respect. And from that, we can start building and moving forward. But let me tell you, the police association, and I mean both the Black Police Association and our San Antonio Police Association, want to work with the community. They want to get back to the people. They just did 3 different drives of free hot dogs and drinks and all kinds of stuff to try to reconnect with people. So all we have to do is to be willing to communicate with them, tell them our needs, and reconnect. It's just about taking action.
Thank you. The next question we have is from Stephen Bramer, and it says, as a native San Antonian, I have heard many promises made by candidates and councilpersons with no real noticeable changes. How do you plan to make the revitalization plan bring about this much needed change?
So one thing about the thing, and I'm just going to kind of go, I don't know if I'm going to focus necessarily on revitalization, but one thing that we need to do is put the right leadership in the right places. We need to put the right leadership in our tiers, on our boards and commissions. We need to put the right leadership in the places that are making decisions for our community. Right now, we do not have people who are really passionate and care about this district, that have knowledge of this district, that are actually representing us in those leadership positions. So that's one reason why we don't see the change and we don't hear about the change, because it's done purposely. Again, being a good steward of the people means that you are knowledgeable and we're communicating with you and we're working with you. So when we're talking about infrastructure, when we're talking about fixing homes that have bad foundations and roofing, we're talking about getting our sidewalks and our streets together. We're talking about bringing entertainment down to our city, so into our district, like restaurants and movie theaters. All this stuff comes from things that have already been created. Our inner city tiers board was created 30 years ago to bring down big business. What happened? What happened was the wrong people were on the board. What happened was the same people have been on the board for years and years and years and years that had other interests. So District 2 did not get what it wants. We changed that. We change what we see.
Thank you for your remarks.
Candidate Cleaver, the question from an anonymous attendee. The question is, how would you propose future economic development in District 2? The second part, and what type of projects would you propose?
So one of the things that I want to do, especially for economic development, is create business hubs. One thing that's part of the plan is making our community centers into hubs. Right now, we have 14 community centers in District 2 that are hugely underused. We can put small business in those centers and initiatives that can provide resources to our community. Plus, working with big corporations like HEB, AT&T, Valero, all folks that I've already worked with for years, already want to invest back into the community for economical growth, which means what do the people want? And we will invest into those things. So ways to grow, ways to grow people's business, making sure we have business resource centers across the district so you can make a copy, so you can do a fax, so you have a business resources so you can grow. And also working with developers, which I just had a conversation yesterday about how to implement District 2 businesses and making them part of the development, making sure that they're talking to residents to include them on what we want developed. The situation and the answers are right in front of our face. Again, it's connecting the dots properly.
Thank you, Candidate Cleaver. You have 1 minute for any closing remarks.
So I just want to let you guys know that, yes, I have passion. Yes, I have knowledge of this city. Yes, I have relationships with our council members, with the people who run our city. Yes, those are all of the things needed to move a district forward. But not only do I have that, I have a commitment. I have invested in this district. I have spent my years working for the people, and whether it's a food drive or whether it's behind the courtroom and the council fighting for something that should be given to us, I've been there. I've been there, feet on the ground, and been involved. And I have helped every last person who has called my phone to say, I need help. And I want to do that for our district, not just for 2 years, but for the next 8. So elect me so we can get this party going and we can start seeing the change that we really, really want to see in District 2. I'm number 1 on the ballot, and I'm working darn hard to be number 1 in your heart.
Thank you, Candidate Cleaver. Brother Chair, turn it back to you.
All right, we're at the final candidate. Last but not least, candidate Walter Perry. You have 3 minutes for your intro and 7 minutes for question and answers, and then you have 1 minute for close.
Thank you very much. My name is Walter Perry, and I'm running for District 2 City Council. And the reason I'm running is simple. I want to take the district in a different direction. I'm a business graduate from Texas A&M San Antonio. My major is in marketing. So that's why I'm going to focus a lot of my attention is going to be on the economic development and the people development part of our district. My experience is at Sage. I was there for 2 years. I was responsible for having a relationship with businesses on the east side. I had to stay engaged with them. I had contact with developers. I worked with the city. I worked with the county. I worked with anybody that was looking to do any type of business on the east side. And it was a very rewarding experience because I got to learn the city inside and out. So I have that experience and also have my economic development certification. I'm almost done with that. So that's going to be part of my business degree. And the reason I want to go this direction is because we've been neglected for a long time. And just last week, the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation just announced its all-in essay plan. And what that is that in the next 5 years, they're going to be trying to raise $38.5 million from the private sector in the next 5 years to invest in people and in workforce development. And they're looking to have 140,000 new jobs, up to $8 billion in wages and salaries, and also 200,000 new degrees and certifications in San Antonio. So I think that's something we should really get involved in and see where District 2 fits in there, because it's supposed to be bringing in $55 billion worth of economic development resources. And so $55 billion is a lot of money to get in on for District 2. And I feel like if we just had $1 billion of that, we can really do some things over here to expand our district. We are expanding out eastward. We are not landlocked. We probably on the side of town, probably with the exception of the south side, is not landlocked. And so with that, as we're building these residentials, we need to be combining our commercial. So I would look to combine the private and the public sector dollars. And I will start right there to infuse our small businesses and also to get residential home repair for our citizens. So that way we can spruce up some of these neighborhoods.
Thank you for your remarks. The first question from anonymous attendee: do you believe in police reform, and how would you propose to improve the relationship between the police and the citizens of District 2?
I want to know what police reform looks like to the police officers. And that's the thing that I've been asking them in all the interviews that I've been having with them. What does that look like to you? Because to us, it looks one way. And I am all for police accountability. I'm so much for it. I'm going to be voting for Prop B because my community wants me to vote for Prop B. And I feel like that by the police not having an outright plan of accountability, I think that's a cause for concern. And as council, I'm going to give the community all access to all meetings that has anything to do with them and law enforcement. And I feel like right now, during these contract meetings, there should be somebody from the District 2 office in those meetings listening in for the community. And I feel like that right there is something that can gain the community's trust and also give them a sense of assurance to let them know that the person that's representing them is really in there representing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Perry. This question is about your first 90 days in office. Let's say you're elected, you're on day 1 up until day 90. What are your top 3 priorities?
My top 3 priorities are: 1, I'm going to be getting rid of people who don't fit into the mold of what we're trying to do with the city. So I'm going to be hiring and firing people. I'm going to be taking meetings. I'm going to be talking to people in the community. I'm going to be building up relationships and listening to what the people already have. They got plans. So I'm going to be taking people in. Hey, what's your plan? What you got? You know, and I'm going to see who's ready, who's not ready, how we can get them ready. But another thing I'm going to be doing is going around the community and making my presence known and letting people see me. We haven't saw our council people really engage in the community. I'm going to be going into the schools. I'm going to be going into these agencies. I'm going to let my presence be felt in the district and let people know that you have all access to the council person. And one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the council office to my neighborhood association so they can come and have a hub to where they can print copies, they can come in and have meetings, they can get information from the city dealing with their neighborhoods. So I'm going to create more accessibility to the council office. So neighborhood associations, get ready for that.
Thank you, candidate Perry.
Next question, same question from Stephen Bramer. As a native San Antonian, I have heard many promises made by candidates and councilpersons with no real noticeable changes. How do you plan to make your revitalization plan bring about this much needed change?
Again, I'm going to take the business approach, and I'm also going to take the SAGE approach. At SAGE, we did a really good job. I don't know what they're doing over there now, but when I was there, we did a very good job of engaging any new business that came, any business that was already established. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be approaching these businesses. I'm going to be asking them what they need, but I'm also going to tap into the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation all-in SA plan, because that's going to be 140,000 jobs, over 200,000 degrees and certifications. There has to be a way to get our residents and our workers and our workforce development trained and ready to go when these jobs are available. So within the next 5 years, I plan to be here for the whole 8 years when I get in there. So within the next 5 years, we want to be a part of that boom, the private and the public sector. So that's what I'm going to tap right into the business sector.
Candidate Perry, as I drive around different parts of the city and I see this major growth out in Schertz and Cibolo and Bernie and all these areas, and I see the houses and the schools flourishing, how would you encourage that type of economic development to come to the east side and fill up the schools on the east side?
For starters, you have to make the area attractable for new business. From every city I went to, one of the things I look at is the trash on the ground and the people that's walking around. When you have an area that's dirty, you have areas that's dilapidated, that does not attract new business. So one of the things I'm going to be focusing on is making the underserved areas look attractive enough to where people want to put businesses over there. It's not necessarily businesses from out of town. We've had businesses that left the east side, like Mrs. Kitchen, and went over onto Walsham. I'm really sad about that because Mrs. Kitchen was something that I can brag on about the east side. Now, all of our businesses, all of our eateries are leaving. I think that's a problem. A lot of it has to do with not enough space available, and then the spaces that they do have available, they're not up to par. So a lot of these buildings, they have to be redone, they have to be redeveloped, so that way our businesses that are already here, if they want to upscale and move like Mrs. Kitchen, that's all they really want to do is upscale because their clientele got bigger, but there was nothing available for them over here. So I want to make these vacant buildings accessible to these businesses, get some type of program to where we can let them buy the building and then also seek funding from the city or the county to rehab these businesses to scale up their business. So we have to find a way to be creative so that way we can stimulate our own economy from the inside. Depending on the outside entities, it's not going to work. We have to also spur that economic development ourselves by being creative.
Thank you, Candidate Perry.
1 minute remaining.
Dr.
Okay.
Dale,
Yes, sir. We have a question from Brother Chaplin.
Go ahead.
Candidate Perry, I want to go back to a previous question that I wasn't quite clear on.
Yes, sir.
The question of do you believe in police reform? And I think you responded with you you wanted to know what that looked like from the police perspective. Could you kind of expand on that for me? I'm not sure how the community would actually look at that.
Yes, sir. Just to answer your question, yes, I do believe in police reform. Over the last few years, I've been a part of different initiatives. I was a part of Mayor Taylor's Police and Community Initiative right before they signed that last contract. And so to me, what accountability looks like is the police doing their job and not trying to do everybody else's job and not transgressing beyond their roles as police officers. I know that the jobs are dangerous, and I'm pro-police, but I just want our police to have a clear outline of what accountability looks like to them. But I am for accountability for the police.
And how would you enhance that relationship with the community and the police?
Oh, I do just like I did in my Suit Up program. I brought in Doug Green and also brought in other police officers to engage with our young people. They came every week for 8 weeks, and we set up scenarios that you will see out in the street where police will stop a youngster for asking them questions, and they learn how to engage the police. And we wanted to remove the fear from our community. And so if we can remove the fear of our officers, then we can also establish a better line of communication when there is a situation.
Thank you, candidate. Perry, you have 1 minute for any closing comments.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Walter Perry, and I'm running for District 2 City Council. And the reason I'm running is simple. I want to take the district in a business direction. Over the years, we haven't had someone in that seat who has a business mindset, thinks about bringing money into the district and not spending money. We have to find ways to empower our residents. I want to make sure that our residents feel safe and they have money in their pockets and they feel like that they have chances to succeed here. The reason I'm running is because I love the community. I love the East Side, and I know that the district is bigger than the East Side, but the East Side is the least developed area of District 2. So I'm going to be focused on the least developed areas. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, candidate Perry. Brother Chair, I yield back to you.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank each candidate for your time and your energy in helping educate this chapter body and all participants in the Divine Nine. Also, in the essence of time, we are collecting questions from the chat, and we'll forward unanswered questions to the candidates for their response and email to the attendees once received. I think we only have like one question that was not answered. And also, we'd like to recognize if there's any local executives in the chat at this time that we missed earlier.
Perry does have his hand raised. If you don't mind, Brother Chair, I think he has a question.
Who's that?
Candidate Perry, did you have a question?
Unmute, Walter.
Okay, I want to answer the question. Somebody asked the question about, it said, can the candidate speak and discuss why he would run for office if there could be an issue with seating if elected due to his past background? I just want to tell everybody straight up. I've already looked into that a bunch of times, and I can run. Unfortunately, there's some fine lining inside of the charter, and I found the fine line. I found the loophole in there, and I ran the last time, and I don't think they would have me out here raising money, building consensus and doing all this if there was no intent to let me serve. So I want to just put that out there right now that I can serve. When I win, I'm going to serve. And if anybody has a problem with that, I need y'all to address that right now. And I need y'all to address that coming up, because there is a chance that I can win. And I don't want to have anybody trying to stop me from doing something that the community voted me in to do. So according to what I read in the charter, and according to lawyers I talked to, I can run. So thank you.
Thank you, candidate Walter. We thank you for your transparency. So moving forward, I would like to thank each one of the committee members, Dr. Mateen Diop, co-host, and Vice Bosselist John Lester, and Vice Chair J.G. Weidman, Chaplain Ernest Brown, Brother Orlando Richards, Brother Fraser Epperson, and Brother Gordon Benjamin. Thank you, guys. And I will yield to the Bosselist for any closing remarks.
Hey, so special thank you to all of our esteemed guests and servants, our D9 participants, our narrators, and Brothers of South and Chapter for joining in tonight. You know, we also want to thank our Voter Registration, Education, and Mobilization Committee for a dynamic job in organizing this very worthwhile event, you know, which we believe provided us a deeper dive into the initiatives of our candidates and their vision, political vision as well, as it pertains to our district. You know, we want to remind everyone of you know, the servant leadership and opportunities that are a part of basically serving and volunteer to serve. And with that, again, we ask everybody to remain safe, stay vigilant. And again, thank you for your time and thank you for volunteer to serve. Brother Chair, I yield back to you.
Thank you, Brother Bosses. I will yield to Brother Chaplain Ernest Brown for closing prayer at this time.
All right. I don't know what happened to my video, but if you would,
You can turn it on.
I'm sorry.
You can turn it on.
Oh, there we go. Let us pray. Let's bow our heads in prayer as we close out. Father, as we have come to the conclusion of this forum, we will first of all give you thanks for the opportunity to provide these candidates with community concerns for their response. Master, we pray our labors of purpose have served all equitably, for choosing a servant leader and that it meet your divine will and purpose. Now, as we depart from one another, but never from your face of grace, we ask that you bless each and every one that participated in this forum. Go with them as they continue to move forward in their efforts to vie for the candidates for the selection of as a candidate for the District 2 candidate. We pray and ask all these things as we normally do in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We pray, amen, amen, and amen. May all be blessed and go in peace.
Well, thank you guys once again.
Amen. And thank you so much for having us. Keep doing what you're doing, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you, Candidate Brown.
All right. Good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you. If we can have the committee to stay over for after
Bye,
action.
guys. Thank you, Omega Sci-Fi. Getting off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me make sure everybody's removed, Brother Chair.
Okay.
Okay, I officially stopped the recording.
Thank you, Orlando.
We're so live on